You may have had, I have to click on my got it. Okay, you may have had a similar experience.
Now we're recording.
You're in this flurry of activity and you're making progress, but you're really not where you want to be. And you start doubting, you start thinking, what am I doing wrong? Why is this taking so long? And then it did happen for me. It was like a secret, a hack, the big solution, my dream. And how it happened was by being a speaker at the Transformational Speaker Summit in Palm Springs, California. You see, my dream was to be a transformational speaker from stage. I took a risk. I bought the ticket. I upgraded it to have the opportunity to speak on stage. And that is where my journey began to being the speaker I am today. It was at the end of that event that I met my coach. And believe me, I didn't know how I was going to pay for her. I just spent all this money on this trip to Palm Springs, California. So I didn't exactly have the extra money. I was scared to complete the application form. I agonized over it. I kept thinking, how am I going to pay for this? Have you ever had that kind of conversation with yourself about something that you really, really wanted, but you just didn't know how you were going to make it happen? From that moment on, though, I knew that I had found the right person for my next best steps. And even though I had all those limiting thoughts like, well, what if this doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? I did it in spite of the fear that I was feeling. I did it in spite of the fear. After all that time, all that money, all the effort and the fear, I finally made it happen. And now I want to tell other people what they can do to make their dreams come true, because I know that there are people who have felt exactly the way I had felt. And I'll be honest here, I'm not saying that I've discovered the cure for cancer. What I am saying is that I have discovered the cure for cancer of the mind and cancer of the soul. And luckily for you, you don't have to go through what I went through, because I have boiled it down to the essential pieces and the precise steps. And my clients have told me that this was a game changer for them. Erin has sent you a handout, and it looks like this, all right? If you have it, pull it out. If you don't, not to worry, a piece of paper will work just fine. But these are the 4 critical steps that you must follow. First step, clarify your heart's desire with absolute precision. Identify the biggest obstacles that could get in your way. Create new beliefs that cancel out the obstacles. And then construct a new self-image based on those new beliefs. So, exactly how do you apply these 4 steps to fulfill your dream? Well, I used them a very, very long time ago, and I didn't even realize it. I was 4 years old. I was lying on the floor with my other siblings, and our heads were propped up on our elbows and hands in front of the TV, watching cartoons. And in one of the cartoons, there was a scene with Parisian can-can dancers, and their legs and skirts were swishing in the air. And it was at that point, I turned to my older siblings and I declared, I'm going to Paris someday. That was step 1. It was a clear and precise statement of what I wanted. I didn't say that I wanted to travel or that I wanted to travel to Europe or even France. With all the confidence of a determined 4-year-old, I declared it as if it was already true. I'm going to Paris. Now it's your turn. Think about your big dream goal. What is that one thing that you want to be, do, or have? And write it down on your piece of paper or your handout. And do not worry if it is possible or practical. Just write down what you really, really want. And who is brave enough to share? Oh, come on. One of you's got to be willing to share what your big dream goal is. We're a friendly group. Don't worry, it's going to be posted on Facebook to 1,600 people. I got to get somebody to volunteer. Erin, you're the host. You're brave enough. I know you are.
I don't know.
And Hannah's clapping for you. She's going to be next, okay? She's going to be next. What do you want to be, do, or have that maybe you've never shared with anybody before?
I think I'm still figuring it out. I don't know that I have one. Is that bad?
No, it's not bad. No one's got a big dream or goal.
I put that I want to travel. Like you, I'm going to Paris.
Yes.
I want to go to Italy.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I was just going to ask Anita, I bet Anita, you're a travel agent. People come to you all the time with their dream vacations. So Kelly, you want to travel and you'd like to go to Italy. Where in Italy?
I want to go, I don't know. I don't know much about it, but I just want to go to Italy, probably Florence. My son is going to be in Florence next semester, so I want to go see him while he's there.
All right. So everybody, let's give some virtual applause to Kelly because she was brave enough to share her dream. All right. So you write down your goal. You want to go to Italy. You want to go to Florence, Italy to visit your son when he's studying there, right? For his semester. All right. That's pretty specific. And do you know when that's going to happen?
Hopefully this spring.
All right, if COVID doesn't prevent him. All right, so you write down your goal is, I am so happy and grateful now that I visit my son in Florence, Italy during his spring study semester. All right, now, once you write down your goal, all right, and I want you all to think about what your big goal is, and sometimes it is hard, and you know why it's hard? Because as soon as it pops into our mind, we discount it because we don't think it's possible, all right? That it isn't practical or possible. Don't do that. This is like fantasy time. Don't worry if it's possible or practical, just what you want. All right, so we're gonna work with Kelly here and her trip to Italy. So once you have a clear and precise goal, you're going to start thinking of all the reasons why you're not going to be able to do it. I know that's crazy, but it's the way that we've been programmed. And so the second step is identifying those obstacles that could get in the way of your dream. And so I want you to write down your top 3 obstacles. Now, usually we can come up with way more than 3, but just write down the top 3 obstacles that would keep you from achieving your goal or your dream. So Kelly, what comes into mind? Why wouldn't you be able to visit your son in Italy?
Money is the first one.
Money, all right. Don't have enough money. Any others pop into mind?
Well, the second one is something I can do something about pretty quickly is I don't have a passport.
Okay, I don't have a passport. Isn't that funny? All these things come into our mind. Oh, I don't have a passport, okay? Anything else?
Just the uncertainty with COVID.
Sure, sure. All right, so the other ladies who are on this call, when you come up with that bucket list dream or that big goal, you're immediately going to think of the reasons why or the obstacles that are going to get in the way of you achieving that and write them down. All right, that's step number 2. And usually it's not difficult coming up with the obstacles. Well, no one wanted to burst my bubble when I was 4 years old. But when I learned of an opportunity to study in Paris, France during my junior year of college, well, the gloves came off. And what do you think the big obstacle was? Kelly, what do you think the big obstacle was?
Money.
Money. Yes. All right. How are we going to pay for it? My mother asked me. Okay. You see, I was attending college on a tuition waiver because my mom worked for the college, and the tuition waiver wouldn't apply to the study in Paris program. So I needed to get my hands on a lot of money in a fairly short period of time. I applied for and I received a scholarship, a grant, a loan, but it still wasn't enough. I needed a summer job that would earn me a lot of money. Now, back in the early 70s, manufacturing jobs were the high-paying jobs. My boyfriend at the time worked in the steel mill in Pittsburgh, and during the summer, he earned enough money to carry him through the school year. By the way, girls didn't work in steel mills back then. My summer jobs had been answering phones at City Hall for minimum wage, which was $1.25 an hour back in 1970. So I did what any smart, goal-driven 70s girl would do. I looked in the want ads in the newspaper, and I found the one job that would pay the most money and that I had a decent shot at getting. Now, have you heard that phrase, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? Well, if I tell you what I did, I'd ask you to keep my secret. But the fact that this is going to be recorded on Facebook and 1,600 people in Ohio are going to know, I guess the cat is out of the bag. Okay, I auditioned for and was hired as a go-go dancer at a dive bar in a not so good part of town. But hey, I got the money. I got the money that I needed, and I sailed on the Queen Elizabeth II out of New York Harbor, and I never looked back. My victory was permanently embedded in my brain and my heart the first time I saw the Eiffel Tower. I can remember that moment as if it were happening this morning. I was crossing the street in Paris, actually on my way to do my laundry for the first time, and I just happened to look up, and there I could see its silhouette very faintly in the distance. I literally stopped in the middle of the street. This was iconic proof that my dream had come true. How in the world was I able to pull off the improbable, if not the impossible? Well, what happened between age 4 and my sophomore year in college is what steps 3 and 4 are all about. It's all the things I unwittingly did that were moving me closer and closer to my Paris dream. And it's the step-by-step process that I'm teaching you right now. And it's the process that I help my clients implement. Looking back at my Paris experience, I realized that I had unconsciously created a new self-image based on new beliefs about myself and what was possible for me. And that new self-image and those new beliefs landed me in Paris to study. It took me decades to figure out what had happened. Remember, step 3 is creating new beliefs that cancel out the obstacles. You must create a belief system that supports what you want. I started believing that I was going to Paris. I started believing that I could earn the money, that I would be the first person in my family to travel to Europe, that I would and could do whatever it would take to go to Paris. And my new beliefs helped me create a new self-image, an image of me living and studying in Paris. I daydreamed constantly about Paris. We call that using your imagination and using it to your advantage by imagining what you want, not all the things that could go wrong, but imagining what you want. Visualization is a technique that Olympic athletes use. They visualize themselves stepping onto that platform to receive their gold medal. I visualized walking the streets of Paris, taking my picture in front of the Eiffel Tower, which I did and which I still have, me sitting in a Paris or Parisian cafe. I let my imagination run wild. I really got emotionally involved with the idea. And how do you become emotionally involved with an idea? I became French. In 7th grade, I pretended I could speak French. I had my classmates completely fooled. After all, my fellow 7th graders in Parma, Ohio, didn't know what the French language really sounded like. And it wasn't until they were going to tell my teacher, only because they thought it was so cool to have a French-speaking kid in class, that I had to come clean. Dreaming, visualization, imagination, becoming emotionally involved with the idea, all this created a movie script of my life in Paris. I was the leading lady of that movie, and I played it over and over and over again in my mind. My belief was so strong that the only possible outcome for me was Paris, and that's exactly what happened. You've probably done something like this already and you didn't even realize it. Remember when you were a little kid and you would fantasize about being a superhero or a movie star or the Lone Ranger? You put on your Superman PJs or maybe your princess dress. Maybe you co-starred with Brad Pitt, or maybe you named your bike after the Lone Ranger's horse. And then you grew up and you stopped daydreaming. Well, I can teach you how to do it again as an adult with intention and purpose. Imagination is such an incredible tool, and we're going to practice it right now. We're going to take a look at your goal. I want you to read your 3 obstacles, and I want you to ask yourself, what are the limiting beliefs behind those obstacles? And so Kelly will work with you, and if in the meantime somebody else has become courageous enough to share, we can work with her as well. So Kelly, you have this dream of visiting your son in Florence, Italy, while he's studying there for his spring semester. And the first thing that pops into your mind is, I don't have the money to do that. It would be wonderful, but I don't have the money. That's the obstacle. Well, there's a limiting belief behind that. What do you think the limiting belief is?
I don't know.
I don't have the money.
Well,
I don't know how to
yeah.
get the money, right?
Right.
Sure. And incidentally, this is a very common limiting belief. We're brought up with limiting beliefs about money. Have we heard our parents say things like, what do you think? Money grows on trees? Where's the money going to come from whenever we ask to do something? What do you think I'm made out of money? And that limiting belief makes you dismiss your dream without ever really giving it a chance. So what we want to do is we want to create a new belief that cancels out that limiting belief about money. So what's the opposite?
I have plenty of money.
I have plenty of money. I can get the money to go to Florence, Italy. I have all the money I need to travel anywhere I want. Now, I know you're kind of laughing when I say that, all right? And sometimes people think, oh, well, that's silly. No, 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 ladies. What's silly? What is silly is believing that we cannot make our dream come true because of money. That's the silly thing. It doesn't seem silly to us because we've told it to ourselves for so long, it makes perfect sense. Trust me, if you had been telling yourself for decades that you have all the money in the world, that you can find the money to do whatever you want to do, the thought that you didn't have the money would be the silly thought. This is programming. And that's why people will say things like, well, that's not logical, that's not practical. What's illogical is what they're thinking. It's just that they've been thinking it for so long that it seems real. And so now the belief that you need to tell yourself, the belief that you need to believe is, I can easily find the money that I need to visit my son in Florence, Italy. So that is the one that you write down. And we'll go on with that. I don't have a passport. You were able to handle that one easily. So yeah. I will get a passport.
Yeah, I have the paperwork right here.
Excellent. Good for you. So whenever you get an idea of something that you want to do, and then there's that voice in the back of your head that's telling you, oh, you can't do that. That is the limiting belief talking you out of your dream. So we've identified the limiting belief, and now you want to change one of them. And so you write down the opposite of that belief, which we've helped you do, Kelly, all right? You ask yourself, what would you have to believe in order to make your dream come true? And what you have to believe is that you can easily find that money. For my mom, she would have had to believe that she could afford to live on a Caribbean island. She would have had to believe that she deserved it and that she had the resources to make it happen. So when you write what you need to believe about yourself so that you can make your dream happen, that belief forms the foundation of your new self-image. And then once you tell yourself, I can get the money, or whatever that obstacle is, you can begin to imagine what your life will be like when your dream is real for you. And this is a really critical piece. When you create your beliefs and you become emotionally involved with them, you will create an image of how you view yourself, and it will be a different image. You will not see the obstacles, you're going to see the possibilities. And so, Kelly, what you need to do is you need to write out a script. You need to start daydreaming of you being in Florence, Italy with your son and all the things that you're going to do. I suggest you create a vision board, get a piece of poster board and start cutting out pictures of all the places in Florence that you want to go, especially the ones that you want to do together with your son. Really get emotionally involved with it. Maybe practice some Italian. Things like, good morning, please, thank you. I'd like to get a gelato. Learn how to say these things. Where is the museum? Where's the restroom? Learn how to say these things in Italian. All 4 of these steps played out in my life, and I knew clearly what I wanted, and I had unknowingly created a 15-year-long movie that had culminated in my heart's desire. And with such an undefeatable belief system, I overcame all obstacles and I sailed across the ocean. Let's fast forward 45 years to my mom's memorial service and the realization that my mom had never lived her dream. That was like a post-mortem revelation. It was like my mom kicking me in the pants and saying, what the heck are you waiting for? My dream was to be a transformational speaker who shared her coaching secrets from stage. And even as a successful coach, I had let myself get sucked into the belief that I needed to be a certain persona that was like the other coaches and speakers I saw. I was comparing myself to them. I talked myself into thinking that I had to be like them, offer the same products, use the same techniques, have that certain look, whatever the heck that look was. And quite frankly, I had a hole in my bucket list, and that slow leak was draining the dream out of me. And even though I had been investing in my personal growth, limiting beliefs had really dug deep, and I mean deep, into my subconscious mind. I needed to put into action the 4 steps that worked so well for my Paris dream. And the big difference was I didn't want it to take 15 years to happen, all right? I wanted to make it happen sooner rather than later. And I bet you do too. So I had done the first step. I knew what I want. I knew clearly that I wanted to be a transformational speaker from stage. I had limiting beliefs though. I told myself things like, I'm not young enough. Well, actually what I told myself was, I'm too old, all right? I had told myself, well, I'm not thin enough. Well, actually what I told myself was, Pat, you gotta lose 50 pounds before you get on stage. I was worried that people wouldn't like my message, that I wasn't a good enough speaker. I needed to change these beliefs. And so my new belief sounded like this: I am the perfect age and the perfect weight to be a transformational speaker. People love my message. My message is important. I am capable of learning and doing whatever is necessary to master the stage. People want and need to hear what I have to say. I started acting like a transformational speaker. I took action. Getting on that plane to Palm Springs was like boarding the QE2 in New York Harbor. It was a declaration to myself and to the world that I am the transformational speaker I wanted to be. I hired that speaker coach. That speaker coach helped me craft my message, practice my stage presence, and improve my tonality. I participated in every speaking opportunity presented to me to gain visibility and to develop my expertise. I imagined myself on stage. I dreamed about what I would wear, what color lipstick I would wear, how I would stand, what I would say. I heard people clapping. I practiced in empty rooms in front of a camera. I became a certified speaking coach so I could help others while I was learning what I needed to know. I was like that Olympic athlete with her eye on the gold. I saw myself as a successful, sought-after transformational speaker who was impacting lives one dream at a time. I stated on my social media, on my website, in my bio, I declare it into being. I dream it into being. I acted into being in spite of the fear. Stop for one moment, close your eyes, and imagine what your life would be like when you have achieved your goal. Imagine what your life is going to be like when you're in Florence, Italy, or wherever else you want to be. I don't know about you, but when I close my eyes and I picture my perfect life, the life that I want, I feel alive and vibrant, successful, fulfilled, joyful, and purposeful. Wouldn't you want to feel like that every single day? Setting and reaching your goal is a process. It's a definite series of steps and strategies you can follow to ensure success every time if they're implemented properly. And I've given you 4 critical steps that you can begin to help you move closer to your dream goal. This is my challenge to you. Come up with your goal and write it down on that piece of paper. Identify your obstacles and pick one. Commit to yourself that you will complete the next step by Friday of this week. Create the new belief. Create the new self-image. See yourself differently. And in order to do that, you need to believe something different about yourself, your situation, your abilities, and what's possible for you. You can stop the leak in your bucket. Nobody's boiled this down to the absolute bare necessities so that you can understand it from the very beginning of your journey. And it's why I created my company, Ready for Takeoff, to get you ready to live your dream and actually take the steps to make it happen. They are not difficult steps, but they need to be taken. These 4 critical steps form the foundation of my Success Bootcamp. In over 60 days, I help you create and implement, that's the taking action part, tools that you can use to move you closer to the results that you want. You see, you always want to be moving towards your goal. And to do that, you must start with some sort of action. And that's why I've said by Friday, complete that next step. Identify the limiting belief. Write the opposite of that limiting belief, because that's going to be the belief that empowers you to take the next step, which is creating that new self-image. If my mom had just purchased the plane ticket, she would have been one step closer to making her dream a reality. We have a travel agent in our midst, and I'd like to ask you ladies, who is ready to those 4 steps? I'd be happy to do it. I'll spend 30 minutes on the phone with you as just a thank you for attending today. And I will walk you through those 4 steps, and you will see how you can move closer to making your dream a reality. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks so much, Pat. That was awesome. I love the idea of like not seeing the obstacles, but seeing the possibilities. I think that's so critical to like getting your mind straight around things. Easier said than done a lot of times, but
it is easier said than done because our programming tells us, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to be able to do that.
Right.
And that's not true. We have hypnotized ourselves into believing something that really is the silly belief.
Yeah.
Kelly, find out how much it costs to go to Florence, Italy. I bet you don't even know exactly how much money you're going to need. And the first thing you say is, I don't have the money. You don't even know how much money you need.
I know.
Find out how much money you need.
There you go.
I'm going
Do
to.
you have any questions for Pat?
I do have a general question about
Absolutely.
getting clear on like what you want. Like so many other people said, I don't even really know what I want.
Yeah.
And that's true. I mean, I think so many times we just get into the habit. If we think we want something, we just automatically say, oh, well, that's never going to happen. So we don't spend time getting clear on what it is that we actually want. How do you do that?
Good question.
It is more common than you think. All right. And I have had conversations with high-level management consultants when they work with CEOs of huge companies, and they have a hard time getting in touch with what they really want because they've pushed it aside for so long. And it happens like a nanosecond. We don't even realize it. It comes into our brain and then we cast it out so quickly, we think we haven't thought of it. We have thought of it, but we've dismissed it because we immediately assume it's too outrageous. We can't make it happen. I do work with people on helping them through that, but what I would suggest is sit down with a glass of wine or your favorite adult beverage, maybe even have a coffee in a quiet coffee shop somewhere, and just fantasize of all the things. If you had a magic wand, all right, if you had a genie coming out of that magic lamp and he said, you have 3 wishes, what would they be? And just have fun with it. Just daydream and think about all the things that you would like. And ladies, this doesn't have to be ending world hunger. All right. You might say, hey, I'd really like to buy a new home with a beautiful kitchen. I know someone who just did that. That was a big dream of hers. She likes to cook, so she's got this beautiful kitchen in her new home. Or people who want to take a trip. I know someone who wants to open a bed and breakfast in Belize. And what she did is she went to Costa Rica to take an in-depth Spanish class to get ready for opening her bed and breakfast. So we have these ideas and we think, oh my God, I can't do that. But have fun with it. Have fun with it. And just play around with the ideas of the things that you would like to have. Maybe you want to buy a really expensive pair of shoes, like Prada shoes, all right, for whatever reason. And so that's your goal. It doesn't have to be important to anybody else. It has to be important to you, something that you want for no other reason than you would like it. You know, why do people climb mountains? Why do people climb Mount Everest? Because they want to, okay? They just want to. So what is it, something that you would really want to be, like for me, or to do, or to have, and have some fun with it? Just write down anything that comes to mind. It's like a brainstorming session. You know, there are no bad answers. Write it all down. Discipline yourself to write it all down, and don't discount anything. Because once you reach one dream, you can go on to the next. That's what life's all about.
I recently took a class where they challenged us to write down 100 things that you want. And you know, once you get past the top, like 5 or 10, you really start thinking of some interesting things.
Yes. Sure.
You know, and then that kind of helps you sort through like, well, what is it that's important to me? And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you won the lottery, what would you do? If you had a magic wand, what would you do? And you may think that this is childish or frivolous, and I'm telling you, this is what life is all about. You know, you don't want to get to almost 90 years old and die, and you're thinking, holy cow, you know, I never did that one thing that I really wanted to do. And it's a wonderful lesson to teach our kids. When they see us going after what we want, it empowers them to go after what they want.
So true. Any other questions?
I just wanted to comment. Sorry, I was half in the car and half here. I was listening to all of it. I just wanted to say that it was awesome. It was very well put together. It's not surprising to me, but I was just listening to something very similar this morning on YouTube, the Millionaire Mindset. And one of the things that they had talked about was the fact that we don't think that big, because sometimes we feel like it's selfish to think big. And what we don't realize is we can bless a lot of other people when we stop thinking, I just need to, you know, have those 4 walls and provide only that. When we get a little, you know, fun in our thinking, and we believe, and we start to, you know, put ourselves in a position to receive, how it really does bless a lot of other people. So it's a different way of thinking for sure that I don't think we are reminded of enough. So thank you. I thought that was really valuable.
Thank you so much. And it is not coincidental that you were listening to the Millionaire Mindset this morning. There are no coincidences, all right? And it is absolutely true. A lot of us with religious upbringing, we've taught to be wary of money, okay? That money is evil, and that people who have a lot of money are, I don't know, mean or greedy or whatever. Think of all the good that you could do if you had $1 million sitting in your checking account and you just didn't know what to do with it. Think of all the good that you could do.
It's kind of interesting. I've actually ticked off a bunch of stuff from my bucket list this summer. I climbed a mountain, I swam with sharks, just did a ton of stuff. I went with the scouts. I'm very involved in the scouting community, and we just went on 3 different adventures that I really didn't think I'd be able to do. And, you know, it's one of those things, once you get going, there's no way of getting back. You just have to keep going. So it was either climb the mountain or climb down the mountain. So you might as well keep climbing to get to the top. You know, the trip was very difficult, and, you know, a lot of belly aching along the way. But when you're done, you can say, wow, I did that. And it gives you a whole new perspective on that kind of thing. So the stuff that you were saying, that, you know, don't look at your obstacles, look at how you're going to overcome your obstacles, is really key. Because I went from being a couch potato in March to having to be able to hike 70 miles with a 50-pound backpack on my back.
Good for you.
In the wilderness with a bunch of kids that are much faster and stronger than me. But, you know, once I got my mindset, if I don't do this, my doctor actually told me, he's like, train as hard as you can, because you don't want to be miserable the whole time. And so I did, because the last thing you want is your kid to see you struggling while you're doing this. And it was my daughter and I, we were going with a bunch of guys. So of course they're stronger and faster and all that stuff. But, you know, I did it. And if I didn't have that mindset that I have to do this and I want to be able to enjoy it, I never would have been able to do that. So yeah, it's mindset is a lot. And what you were saying is if you look at what's in your way and not try to find the way around it, you're never going to get it.
And the purpose of a goal is to help you grow. I mean, what you actually get, the new house, the beautiful kitchen, the trip to Italy, all of that is like icing on the cake. But Hannah, you are not the same person you were in March. You are a different person, and it's who you become. Because you have to reach down inside of you and go someplace that you've never been before inside. Reach into what you're able to do that you've never touched before. And now you're a different person than you were in March.
Right. And a lot of times I think one of the things that for me personally, it would have been easier to say, well, you know, that goal is just not that important to me. I don't need to do it because it's going to be really hard. And yeah, it was really hard. But at the end of the day, you're right. It does become a transforming thing. And when you finally reach your goal, it's empowering. It helps you look at life in a different perspective. And, you know, it gives you momentum to go and get that next goal. And that next goal doesn't seem as daunting as the first goal, because now I've done this. For me, it was, I got to the top of a, 12,441 foot mountain. If I can do this, I can do anything, So it is empowering to get you to the next goal and just keep going, just tick off that bucket list. And if it doesn't necessarily even have to be a bucket list, it could be just a goal in your career, or a goal for something that you want, that wouldn't necessarily be a bucket list item, but just a goal that you would have for your family, or like you were saying, that kitchen. That's not necessarily a bucket list item for me, but yeah, I'd love to have a new kitchen. But I wouldn't put it on my bucket list as something that I want before I die. I mean, that's kind of more the fun and crazy stuff. Like, I've actually taken off hang gliding. I don't really want to do that anymore. But things like that. Great message.
And thank you. And what you mentioned, success breeds success, because you're creating an internal self-image of yourself as a successful person. So every time you do something, you reach that goal, your image of you as someone able to do these kinds of things becomes stronger and stronger. So that saying, there's nothing like success to bring more success. All right. And you're actually training your brain to think successfully. There's some neuroscience behind that. So good for you. Congratulations, Hannah. I'm doing something not quite that aggressive. I'm going to be hiking with my son in Sedona, Arizona in December. And so I don't want to, pass out at the side of the trail and have the park rangers have to airlift me to a hospital or something. So I've been walking to build up my endurance because I want to enjoy that with him. All right. I don't want to be panting and
Well, the
dying.
one thing you have to, I don't know what the elevation is in that area, but you can't really train for elevation. So one thing you could do is hike with your mask on while you're training, because it does deprive you of some oxygen. The oxygen levels are different when you're in a higher elevation. That really hit me hard. And it takes a few days to get used to it. So if you're going to be in that area, give yourself a few days before you start hiking to give yourself at least that ability to get acclimated a little bit. Just a little side note, because we were in New Mexico and that elevation kicked my butt.
Thanks for that advice. Well taken.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm joining in so late. I've been listening, but I had a couple of work calls I had to take. I just heard a couple of things that really resonated with me. Y'all sound like an interesting group of ladies. And I messaged Erin to, so that I could watch this. She said she's recording, so I can't wait to rewatch it. I'm a travel agent. So of course, bucket list is what I talk about every single day of my life. And when you said there are no coincidences, I had to just say that, I'm fortunate that I'm able to do quite a bit of travel. But this morning, instead of working, I got an email about an opportunity to go to the Galapagos Islands, which has been on my husband's and my bucket list for years. So instead of working, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to do this trip when we really don't have the time or money to do it. So I heard you say that. So now I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, I got to make this happen. I don't know how. But I'm looking forward to hearing the recording and hearing your stories and your 4 things which I missed. So thank you all for sharing, and I can't wait to take a look at it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, there are no coincidences. You get on that. We want to see some pictures posted on your Facebook page, don't we, Erin, on Outstanding Ohio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear all about this trip.
Fabulous. And if you have that glass of wine and you figure out what you really want, and you're ready to fill out that handout, the 4 steps, shoot me an email or call me or whatever, and I will be happy to walk you through those.
All right.
Erin, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good
Thank you,
everybody.
Pat.